Daniel never thought his life would change. He was just an ordinary man, working long hours on Earth, barely earning enough to survive. But one evening, as the city lights faded into darkness, a message arrived, strange, official, and sealed with an alien crest. The Galactic Court summoned him. His closest friend, an alien warrior named Kale, had died in a distant world. And in Kale's will, Daniel's name appeared. The humans around him could not understand. Why would an alien noble choose a simple human as heir? Daniel boarded the transport ship, his heart racing. The journey through hyperspace was long and silent. He remembered Kale's words, years ago. "One day, you will understand why I trust you more than my own blood." Those words now echoed in his mind like a warning. When he finally arrived at the alien world, Daniel saw a place unlike anything on Earth. Towers of crystal pierced the sky, glowing with strange colors. Alien markets buzzed with life, filled with creatures from across the stars. But behind the beauty, Daniel felt something darker. Eyes watching, whispers following, silent judgment at every step. Then came the most shocking part of the inheritance. A woman stood before him, tall and radiant, with skin that shimmered faintly under the twin suns. Her name was Soraya. She was Kale's wife. By ancient law, she was now bound to Daniel as part of the inheritance. Daniel froze. He had inherited wealth, estates, and power beyond imagination, but also a living, breathing woman who clearly did not want to be here. Her eyes carried sorrow, and her voice was cold as she greeted him. The air grew heavy with tension, and as Daniel looked around, he realized something else. Many powerful families had expected this fortune for themselves. To them, he was not an heir, he was a thief. What Daniel didn't know was that his new fortune was not a gift. It was a trap, one that could cost him everything, including his life. Daniel's footsteps echoed against the polished crystal floors of the alien palace. Servants bowed as he passed, but their eyes were sharp, filled with suspicion. He could feel it. Every movement was being watched, every breath judged. To them, he was not a guest. He was an intruder. Soraya walked beside him, her expression unreadable. Her beauty was undeniable, yet her silence cut deeper than any blade. She was not here by choice. She had lost her husband, and now, by the cruel laws of her people, she was tied to a human stranger. Daniel wanted to speak, to comfort her, but he could see the pain in her eyes. She did not need empty words. Outside, the alien city spread wide and dazzling. Towers floated above the ground, powered by technology Daniel could not even begin to understand. Ships roared overhead, weaving through skies of purple and gold. Yet beneath all the wonder, whispers followed him. He heard them in the markets, in the council halls, even in the palace itself. The humans stole Kale's legacy. Unworthy. Weak. Daniel soon learned why the whispers carried so much hatred. Kale's fortune was vast. Mines of rare minerals, fleets of ships, entire estates across different systems. Generations of alien nobles had fought and killed for less. And now, all of it belonged to a human who had no bloodline, no claim, no power. That night, Soraya finally broke her silence. "You should not have come," she whispered, her voice soft but sharp as steel. "Kale trusted you, yes, but his trust has placed you in great danger. Already, powerful families plot against you. They wanted his wealth, and they wanted me. Now they will come for both." Daniel's blood ran cold. He had thought this inheritance was a gift of friendship, but now he saw the truth. It was a curse. The alien nobles would never allow him to live long enough to enjoy it. And as the twin moons rose over the palace, Daniel noticed a shadow move across the balcony. A figure slipped into the darkness, watching him. He was not alone. The first attempt on his life had already begun. The night was quiet, but Daniel's heart was restless. He could not shake the feeling that unseen eyes followed his every move. The alien palace was beautiful, yes, but its long corridors and towering halls felt more like a cage than a home. That unease soon proved real. His room lights flickered, and for a moment, darkness swallowed everything. Then a sharp sound, metal scraping against metal. Daniel turned, and through the dim glow, he saw the shimmer of a blade. An assassin. The figure lunged, fast and silent, but Daniel threw himself to the ground. The blade cut through the air where his throat had been. Desperation filled his veins. He had no weapon, no training. He was a human, an outsider trapped in a world of killers. But instinct and fear pushed him forward. He grabbed a chair and swung wildly, knocking the assassin back just long enough to escape through the door. Soraya was already waiting in the hall, her face pale but her eyes sharp. "They will not stop," she said. "You are holding more than wealth, Daniel. You are holding power. Power that others would kill for." She led him through hidden passages beneath the palace. As they walked, Soraya revealed the truth. Kale's death was no accident. He had been betrayed, poisoned in secret. The same families now wanted Daniel erased before he could fully claim his inheritance. Daniel listened, his chest heavy. Every step deeper into the tunnels reminded him. He was far from Earth, alone in an empire that wanted him dead. Yet there was something else he could not ignore. Soraya walked with determination, protecting him even though she had no reason to. For the first time, Daniel wondered if she saw something in him, something worth standing beside. But their enemies were always a step ahead. When they emerged from the tunnels into the city outskirts, alien mercenaries were already waiting, weapons drawn, eyes filled with hatred. Daniel had inherited not just riches, but a war. And tonight, that war had finally come for him. The mercenaries attacked with no mercy. Their blades sparked under the alien moons, their voices filled with rage. Daniel fought with everything he had, dodging, blocking, striking with desperate strength. He was no trained warrior, but survival gave him courage. It was Soraya who saved him. With graceful movements and deadly precision, she struck down their enemies. Her combat was like a dance, elegant yet terrifying. When the last mercenary fell, Daniel stood frozen, breathing heavily, staring at her. "You are not safe," she said, wiping blood from her blade. "You never will be, unless you learn." From that night forward, Soraya became more than a companion forced by law. She became his teacher. In the palace courtyards, she showed him alien combat stances, how to move with speed, how to think 2 steps ahead. At first, Daniel stumbled. He failed, fell, and often laughed at his own clumsiness. But Soraya's sharp gaze softened as days passed. She saw his determination. He would not give up. Between training, she told him stories of Kale, how he fought for honor, how he dreamed of peace. Daniel listened carefully, but each story only deepened his question. Why had Kale trusted him above all others? What secret bond had made the alien warrior leave everything, even Soraya, to a human? Slowly, the distance between Daniel and Soraya began to fade. What started as silence turned into conversation. What started as cold glances turned into lingering eyes. Daniel found himself drawn not only to her beauty, but to her courage, her spirit, and the sadness she carried. But in the shadows of the palace, danger never rested. Messages arrived, threats carved into stone, warnings left in blood. The noble families were not finished. They waited for their chance to strike again. Soraya placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder one evening as the sun set. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed fear. "They will test you soon," she said. "Not with assassins in the dark, but in the open. If you fail, you will lose everything. If you win, you will only gain more enemies." And that test was already being prepared. The council chambers were vast, echoing with the voices of ancient rulers. Dozens of alien nobles sat high upon crystal thrones, their glowing eyes fixed on Daniel. For days, whispers had built like a storm. "The human cannot survive. He is unworthy. The trial will kill him." At the center of the chamber stood the arena, a circle of polished stone, marked with scars from countless battles. The trial of blood. By law, any heir who inherited vast fortune must prove strength before the empire. Fail, and he would lose everything, including his life. Daniel entered the arena, heart pounding. The nobles laughed openly at him. A human? One sneered. Kale's legacy will end in disgrace, another whispered. Soraya stood at the edge, her hands clenched, her face pale but fierce. She wanted to scream, to stop him, but she knew it was useless. The trial was law, and Daniel had no choice. The first challenger entered. A towering alien warrior, his body armored with scales, his weapon glowing with energy. The crowd cheered, bloodthirsty. The gong struck. The fight began. The alien charged, swinging with bone-crushing force. Daniel barely dodged, the strike cracking the arena floor where he had stood seconds ago. Fear burned through him, but so did something else, determination. He remembered Soraya's training, her sharp commands, her endless patience. Move faster. Think sharper. Strike when they least expect. The alien attacked again, but this time Daniel ducked, rolled, and grabbed a fallen spear. The crowd gasped as he spun and drove the weapon forward, striking the warrior's weak spot. The alien howled and stumbled back. The fight raged on. Daniel was cut, bruised, bloodied, but he refused to fall. With every strike, he learned. With every dodge, he grew stronger. Finally, with one desperate move, he turned the alien's own strength against him. The challenger crashed to the ground, defeated. Silence. Then chaos. The nobles shouted in disbelief. The crowd erupted in roars. Soraya's eyes glistened, pride breaking through her fear. She whispered under her breath, "He did it!" But the council leader rose, his voice thundering. This was only the first. More await. If you truly want Kale's fortune, if you truly want Soraya, you must survive them all. Daniel's blood ran cold. The trial of blood had only begun. The trial of blood stretched on for hours. One challenger after another stepped into the arena. Daniel fought until his body screamed with pain, his arms heavy, his skin cut and bleeding. Yet somehow he endured. Against all odds, the human outsider survived. When the final gong struck, the crowd roared with shock. The council had no choice but to declare Daniel victorious. He was now the rightful heir to Kale's fortune. But victory brought no peace. That night, as Daniel limped through the palace halls, Soraya pulled him into a hidden chamber. Her eyes were hard, her voice low. They will not stop. The trial was not the end. It was the beginning. She handed him a small device, glowing faintly. A recording. Daniel played it, and what he heard froze his blood. Voices, distorted but familiar, whispering plans. They spoke of Kale's death, not as an accident but as murder. Poison slipped into his veins by those closest to him. And then came the name. The conspirators were Kale's own family, his bloodline, his cousins and uncles who coveted everything he owned, his estates, his wealth, even Soraya herself. They wanted Daniel gone not just because he was human, but because he stood in their way. Anger boiled in Daniel's chest. These were the very people who smiled at him in the council halls, who mocked him during the trial. They had killed Kale, betrayed Soraya, and now sought to erase Daniel completely. Soraya's voice trembled as she spoke. They will come soon. They will take me and they will kill you, unless we strike first. For the first time, Daniel felt the weight of Kale's trust. His alien friend had known this day would come. That was why he left everything to a human, not bound by alien greed, not corrupted by family ambition. Daniel clenched his fists, his pain turning into fire. Then we won't wait for them, he said. We take the fight to them. Soraya met his eyes. For the first time since they had met, her sorrow turned into something else, hope. The stage was set. The true war was about to begin. The palace shook with tension as Daniel entered the Grand Council once more. This time, he was not the confused human who had first stepped into this world. He had bled, he had fought, and he had survived. But now, the true test was waiting. Kale's family stood before him, cloaked in silks of power, their eyes burning with hatred. They had killed their own blood, betrayed their own empire, and now they demanded everything back. The council chamber roared with accusations. He is an outsider, one shouted. He has no right, another cried. Daniel raised his voice, steady and unshaken. You call me an outsider. Yet it was you who poisoned your own kin. It was you who betrayed Kale. He trusted me, because he knew your hearts were rotten with greed. Gasps filled the room. The conspirators snarled, their lies exposed. And then, like cornered beasts, they struck. Weapons flashed, soldiers charged. Chaos erupted inside the sacred chamber. Daniel fought side by side with Soraya. Her blades cut through the attackers with deadly grace, while Daniel's courage and cunning turned the tide. Every blow, every strike, carried not just survival but justice for Kale. The battle was fierce, but at last, the conspirators fell. Their power broken, their legacy shattered. Silence followed, heavy and absolute. The council had no choice. They rose to their feet, their voices echoing through the chamber. By law and by victory, the fortune is his. The legacy is his. The wife is his. The human is the true heir. Soraya stepped closer to Daniel, her eyes meeting his. For the first time, her voice was free of sorrow. Today, I choose not because of law, but because of heart. I stand with you, Daniel, not as inheritance, but as partner. Daniel's chest tightened. He had come to this world as nothing, an ordinary man with no power, no claim. Now he stood as heir to an empire with Soraya at his side. What began as a gift of fortune had become a bond of love and destiny. The human who once had nothing now had everything, and the galaxy would never look at his kind the same way again.